The Dr. Ray Podcast is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio. Here's today's monologue with Dr. Ray Guarendi.
I have, for a long, long time, noticed it probably my first or second year of being a shrink, that by and large the experts, the nattering classes, the people who speak about how you are supposed to be psychologically correct, are uncomfortable with what would have been considered traditional discipline. Oh, they hate spanking. Spanking is just virulently evil in their minds, even though there's no research that suggests when done by a loving parent in a loving home properly with smaller kids, it doesn't cause any kinds of horrible things. I know there are those of you right now thinking, Doctor, I can't believe you're saying this. I'm just simply I'm repeating what the American Academy of Pediatrics said when they reviewed the research. But it's broader than that. They are uneasy, I believe. Now, when I say they, I'm speaking very generically. They're uneasy with discipline. A couple of examples. If you put a child in timeout, and by the way, I've come across a lot of experts who don't like timeout. As benign as that is, it is, it's shaming, it's isolation, it's inappropriate, it's punishment, and they don't like the word punishment either. But if you put a child in timeout and you allow yourself to do that, they advise you very quickly, 1 minute per year of age. So you got a 5-year-old who just kicked his sister. Well, 5 minutes. That's what it's worth. Now, they also struggle with consequences in the sense that, let me illustrate. Back in the beginning days when I used to consult to the school districts, there was a program that was very popular, and remnants of it are still there. If you have your kids going to school, elementary school, there's a good chance that you will see this variant of that program. The program touted itself as a back-to-basics, no-nonsense, returning discipline to the classroom. All right, one is thinking, how's this unfold? Structured like this. You write your classroom rules on the board. However, the caveat, you do not write them in a negative way. You don't say, do not leave seat. You say, stay in seat. You do not say, do not speak out. You say, raise your hand to speak. You have to say positive. Can't say it negative. I guess that just isn't the way the whole world works. I came up here on Route 75, and if I would have gotten pulled over by a trooper, and he would have said, don't speed, I would have said, officer, you need to phrase that in the positive. You need to say, stay within the speed limit. So, that said, that's the first step that indicates this little discomfort with discipline. Don't say it negative. Don't say don't. Or I shouldn't say don't say don't. I should say stay positive. Then, if a child breaks, can you say break? If a child does not adhere to one of your stated rules on the board, the child is to put his or her name on the board. That's a warning. A rule broken again by the same child, the child puts a check mark next to their name. Now that's a consequence. Whatever that consequence might be. Maybe head down at the desk for 3 minutes. Maybe waiting to partake in recess outside, having to sit for a few minutes. Some benign consequence. Every day, the child gets a warning. The warning is, if you break a rule, you simply put your name there. Now, some might say, and I could easily see experts saying this, well, that's shameful. That poor child has to go up in front of the room and put their name on a board? Yeah, well, anybody who knows real kids and anybody who knows kids who like to disrupt, that's a badge of honor, getting to disrupt. But nevertheless, we shall move on. I ask teachers, how many kids in your class? Well, on average, it's anywhere between 18 and 25. Let's just say 20. Let's do the math, make it easy. How many state-required school days? Typically, it's 180. So let's take 20 kids times 180 school days. That is 3,600 potential pieces of misconduct that the teacher can do nothing about. Dr. Ray, come on, the kids aren't going to do that. They're not going to all realize. Many of them are not going to misbehave no matter what. Many of them are not going to misbehave every day. No, I'm just simply doing the math. The very strict, no-nonsense, back-to-basics program has wired into it the potential for 3,600 pieces of misbehavior that have no consequences. The variant of this, and I saw it when my children went to parochial school, was you have a card. You have a little card at your desk. And green means you're fine. You haven't broken any classroom rules. Yellow, when you put your yellow card there, means you have. So now you're warned. Yellow card. Red card is a consequence. Now, you see, quickly it's the same thing. You get one warning every day. So if, in fact, jumping out of my seat and running around the classroom is a warning with no consequence, that's wired into the system. Again, Dr. Ray, kids aren't going to pick up on that. Yeah, well, my son did. He came home from kindergarten. And he said, hey, Dad, we got the rules, and you're allowed to break one every day. I said, what happens, Andrew? Well, you get a yellow card. Does the yellow card do anything? No, just a yellow card. Well, what happens if you break a rule again? Well, that's when you get a red card. And then something happens? Yeah, it's not very much, but something does happen. So you can get a yellow card every day. Yeah, I know that, Dad. That's really cool, isn't it? I said, okay, Andrew, here's what we're going to do, son. I'll give you a week to get used to the system. But then you can't get a yellow card. Well, no, Dad, no! You're allowed. The teacher says you can get a yellow card. You're allowed. That's the way they do it. Yeah, but you broke one of her rules, did you not? But yeah, but it's okay. You can just, you're not breaking a rule when you get a yellow card. Well, yeah, you are. That's why you got the yellow card. Now, one might say, well, how are you going to know whether he, in fact, had a yellow card if he doesn't tell you? Ha! Oh, come on. He has a sister that goes to the same school. She's a narc. I will know about the yellow card almost before he turns it over at his desk. Father, I have some information you might be interested in. It concerns a boy whose name begins with A. So, given that, this no-nonsense, tough as nails, back to basics, discipline, allows a warning every single day for a piece of misbehavior. The implication is the poor kid can't control himself. He can't follow a rule. Why? Because he gets a warning every day. Kind of a little bit of flexibility built into the program. It's a good thing that most kids don't figure that out. My son did.
More of Dr. Ray's Manologues can be found on his website, drray.com. Manologues, as well as full-length programs of The Doctor Is In, can be heard at AveMariaRadio.net and EWTN.com/radio.